Hi and welcome back to Chit Chat with Plants in Our Cups. My name is Caro, and on today's video we will be doing a rest and calming inviting elixir, and we will also be talking about how rest is a form of self-care, is a form to actually transform the way in the one our system is used to work, and in order to literally just calm down, soothe our nervous system, and come back to more of our natural rhythm instead of being on this like workaholic, nervous, inviting, neurotic state of mind that sometimes society, the city, ourselves trap us into. So for today's elixir drink, we will be using 4 of my favorite herbs, and actually 4 plants that have been used throughout different traditions around the world for their vast amount of medicinal properties. And these are tulsi, also known as holy basil, skullcap, schisandra berry, and rose. Before diving into the recipe, I would like to state that none of these properties have been approved by the FDA. And also, if you're pregnant or if you're taking any type of medicine, any type of antidepressants, I would highly suggest consulting your doctors before intaking any of these herbs. So following this recipe should really be something that you take at your own risk. And I am not by any means suggesting that these herbs will be good for you. I'm just sharing the information that has been shared by herbalists around the world. That being said, let's start by tapping into the properties that each of these herbs has. The first herb that we will be using is tulsi, and tulsi has been well known for lowering our blood pressure, reducing stress, anxiety, and fatigue. We will also be using skullcap. Skullcap is known as a mood boosting enhancer and also for its reducing anxiety properties due to how it stimulates the GABA acid. The GABA acid is a neurotransmitter that can help and support calm our nervous systems. Schisandra rose is well known for its adaptogenic nature. Adaptogens are herbs or fungi that target directly our endocrine systems. These can help us cope against many types of stress, both in biological, mental, and emotional levels. Schisandra berry is also known by the Taoist masters as the quintessential herb, as it is the only herb known to be perfectly yin and yang balanced. Schisandra berry promotes beautification of the skin. It benefits the mind, especially the memory. It benefits sexual functions for all folks. It detoxifies the liver and much, much more. If you are not familiar with Schisandra berry, I highly recommend you make some research on it because it has amazing, powerful benefits for a lot of different parts of our human, physical, emotional, and our mind as well. And last but not least, we will be using rose. And we will be using rose because it has been as a heart opener both by the traditional Chinese medicine as well as the Unani traditions. Rose has a powerful effect on the spiritual state of our hearts. Rose is a beautiful nervine that really helps enhance our mood while also alleviating depression. So let's get started. Today I will be using both tulsi and skullcap in their dried form. These are dried herbs and we will be using the leaves for both of these plants. And for schisandra and rose, we will be using a liquid tonic, which is a very powerful tonic that has both of them mixed together. While we heat our water, let's get our teapot ready. We will be using 2 tablespoons of tulsi, 1 tablespoon of skullcap, and we will add our hot water. And we will let it steep for around 5 to 7 minutes. Now we will add 1 teaspoon of our schisandra and rose tonic, but it sediments, so before adding it, you really want to shake it up. Once you shook it up, 1 teaspoon of Shisandra Rose Tonic to your mug. You can also do half a teaspoon, and it's suggested that the maximum you should have it a day is 3 times. Of course, go by your intuition or by your doctor's suggestions. Now that our tea has steeped, we can add it to our mug. You can add any sweetener of your choice to this tea. I find that Shisandra, Rose, Tulsi, they already give it a sweet berry flavor, so I just like in taking it this way. Also, you have the option of adding any of your favorite nut milks, if any. Then again, I like it just like these. And you have the option to garnish with some food grade rose petals, which are edible, of course. Or you can leave it as is. Mix it up, and voila, your drink is ready. So now that we have our tea ready, I invite you to find a comfortable place to sit, to stretch, to lay down. I really invite you to watch this video laying down if you can. And if you have any candles, if you have any water, if you have any smudging tools that you're currently working with, feel free to set up your space and make it feel pretty comfortable. I will be lighting up a candle, and now that we are on the topic of a beautiful space, I want to give a shout out to the Funky Loft. Once again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for letting me shoot the Chit Chat with Plants in Our Cups videos. It really means the world to me. This space is not only beautiful, but it really has this calming aura that I love. And as we are on the topic of smudging, I would really like to invite you to make sure that the smudging tools that you are currently using are not in danger, they are not endangered species. And also, I invite you to investigate if there are any tools that come from your lineage and that might be might help the ever-growing relationship with your own ancestors. The idea behind today's conversation and chit chat is to make space for ourselves. So I hope that you're able to make some space for yourself today to have this drink together, to talk about one of the topics that I find most important for me, and not only in a personal level, but I feel that when we are able to rest, we are able to care for our collective as well. So why don't we start by grabbing our drinks? Closing our eyes, giving ourselves permission to smell this tea, to think about all the plants, all the herbs that we are carrying in this drink today. How is our relationship growing with all these different herbs? How are we connecting to the spirit of Skullgap, of Rose, of Shisandra? If we are asking anything in particular from these plants, use this time to set an intention for today, for yourself, for your own relationship with your ability to rest, to calm down. to give yourself space to be able to slow down, come back to your natural rhythms. And I also invite you to think, how can you support each of these plants? How can you support the plant kingdom while they support you? Once you've set up your intention for your work and your relationship with these plants, and for this time with yourself, this is a space that you're granting for yourself, not for me, not for anyone else, just for you. Open up your eyes slowly, come back to the space, and whenever you feel ready, start drinking the beautiful tea that we have made here today. Take a moment to feel how this flavor makes you feel, what sensations come up to the body, to the mind, to your emotions. And when you feel ready, I invite you to start sipping on this beautiful drink that we have made together. Inviting it to your body. Give yourself the time to pay attention. See how this flavor makes you feel. What comes up for you? What emotions, what feeling, how do you feel coming down through your throat towards your tummy? I also invite you to keep a journal in handy to see if anything comes up for you. If you have one of those aha moments and there's something that you really want to write down during this time. And if you feel like painting or drawing, you're welcome to do so, but I would invite you not to create at this time, but actually just give yourself permission to rest. We can paint and draw together. We can even do another video for that later. But this moment is for you, for your body. If you feel called to, take some deep breaths, stretch your body. Put some PJs on, some comfy clothes. Stretch out a little. So, as always, I can only speak from my own perspective, from my own experience, and rest is something that is becoming more and more important in my life each year. I totally get it that if you just started seeing my channel and you see what I do nowadays, it might seem pretty easy and pretty restful to have a life where I don't have a 9-to-5 job and I don't need to be hustling around the city, and I get to paint and draw and create as a living. I don't take this for granted. I actually am so grateful for each and every one of you, because the only reason why I'm able to live this life is because you are here supporting me every day, with every video, with every post, with every comment, with every buy me a coffee. Every time you buy a print from me, you make me and my family able to live from my artwork. So I really want to take the time to thank you for this. And I also want to say that resting is something that really started to become pretty important for me while I was working at the restaurant industry, where I was for 5 years, and I ended up only working twice a year twice a week as a bartender, but I started with 6 shifts a week and I would make them in 5 days in order to have 2 days completely off. One of them ended up being just a day to rest, to restore myself, to nourish, and pretty much just sleep, while the other ended up being a day full of painting and doing artwork. And of course, I was always hustling while I was not at my bartending shifts. So if I would start a shift at 5 p.m., I would wake up as early as I could and I would paint and create all day until 4:30 that I had to leave in order to go bartend. And I felt I had this fueling energy inside of me that really wanted to create and really wanted to be able to live a life where I was able to manage my own time, where my main income was my painting. And I realized that in order to do so, no one would make that come to reality but myself. And I would have to hustle a lot. And in between how energetically demanding my paintings started becoming, because for me painting is more of a therapeutic session, and at the same time interacting with so many people at the bar and like grasping a little bit of everyone's energy, and at the same time being in the city, and I live in New York City, so this would mean like going through the city, taking the subway, hustling, doing all these things, that I realized that the only way I could keep happy and sane while doing all these things was by giving myself the time and space to rest. And one of the main things that I started to do in order to shift that is, before compromising to go out to a bar, to a party, to meet a friend, or every time that I had time off at home, I would just make a pause and ask myself the question, is this really going to nourish me? Is this really what my body and my soul needs right now? Or what I need right now is to either not go to the party or turn my phone off, not scroll through social media and rest, or stare at the ceiling, or read a book, or make myself a nourishing meal. And that's when I started realizing the power of resting, the power of spending time moving my body, doing yoga, meditating. I started realizing that giving myself this time and space within my day-to-day life really made me able to show up to all the other things that I really wanted to do, and all the other things that I had to do. And it might sound counterintuitive at first, but there's also this saying that I really believe in that says, it's suggested that you meditate 10 minutes a day. And if you don't have the time, you should meditate 20 minutes. So with that, what I get from that quote is that if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself a day, there's definitely something wrong with your routine. And there's definitely something that needs to change. And in order to do that, you might need more time to yourself than you think you do. And on this regard, I want to say that I don't believe this is our individual problem. We can do a lot in order to make space for ourselves in our day-to-day life, but I believe that the real problem is rooted in how our society works nowadays, not on our personal level of achieving things. I think that this, more than anything, is the fault of how society has become to be. And of course we have our role, and of course there's a lot of things that we can change in order to make time and space for ourselves. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why resting becomes a sort becomes a way to take care of our collective, while some other people might refer to it as rest is a form of resistance. And I do get that, and I do believe in that as well, because of course, if we are the ones sleeping more, giving ourselves permission to rest, giving ourselves permission to go at our natural rhythms, but then again, we see society and we see people in the outer world producing and making new things every day and all the time, and putting new content and new artwork and new work every day. We start getting a little neurotic, and we start to think to ourselves that if others are doing things in such a rush way, that we should also be on the same wagon, because if we're not, maybe we're doing something wrong. And this is the way that I used to think a lot, and it gets to me still sometimes. I just wonder why instead of making X amount of videos, I'm not doing double, and instead of making X amount of paintings, I'm not doing double. And this brings me to how the pandemic really became a moment for myself, when I realized that the only way that I could actually make sense of life at this moment, and how I could stay strong and stay positive and happy, and all the beautiful outcoming in my mind, I realized that I really needed to slow down on my painting, and I really needed to focus more on resting, on calming down my body, on soothing myself, on realizing that cooking is not something that I do every day to nourish myself and get it out of the way and keep on painting. It really helped me realize that cooking is another form of making art, and I could even do yoga twice a day sometimes, or just playing with the cats, or doing more phone calls with my friends, with my family that lives in Peru and I'm not able to see up until today because of the pandemic. I realized what was really more important than only painting, and I feel that sometimes there are these moments in life where we are able to just open our eyes and have this aha moment to why is rest so important for ourselves. And yeah, I've just come to realize that the more that I rest, the more that I'm back to come to my natural rhythms, thus the more I feel more connected to my real self and my authentic self. And everything that I do, I produce, I say, I create, comes from a place that feels more authentic to me. And I think a lot that sometimes we forget that we are this human body as well, and how we nourish it, how we treat it, how we move it, how much rest we give it, are all part of how our body will be able to respond to everything that we have in our minds and we dream of and we really want to create. So when we give ourselves the time to rest, we give ourselves permission, we give ourselves the nourishment that we need, so we are able to show up for our community in whatever shape or form we are really wanting to. And years ago, when I started giving myself permission to rest, culpable, I felt very guilty of doing so. And I would lay down either in bed or under the sun, or if I was hiking or whatever I was doing in my free time, in my resting time, I would have this non-stop voice saying that I was a failure, saying that I was losing my time, saying that I should be doing something else. And if this is something that is happening to you at the moment, you're not alone. I feel that we all go through that state, and I feel that's a reflection of how ingrained we have consumerism and capitalism in our minds and in our lives. And what really helps me calm that voice down is closing my eyes and giving myself a few minutes to talk to myself and say, Caro, you were not born in this world to make money, buy things, and die. You came into this world to work in unity with nature, to love, to create, to have experiences, to learn. And all this comes from resting, not from working more, not from scrolling longer in your phone. I give myself permission to rest because I need it, because I'm worthy of it, because I love myself, I love my body, and I love this human experience. Sunflowers are not hurrying themselves up to grow faster, to bring their petals out faster. The waters are not rushing to make the wave go faster. It just happens. It just lets itself be. So I invite you to let yourself be, to rest. And if you have that guilty voice inside of you, make a little mantra, make a little meditation for yourself. If you have a journal with you, I invite you to write a list of why resting is important for you, how it makes you feel when you rest. And come back to this list every time you feel doubtful about resting. And on that note, I would let you rest. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It really means the world to me. I am very honored to share this space with you. I'm very honored that there's someone out there listening and that there's people that really resonate with this message, because sometimes it's hard to find our tribe. But if we really, really want to find them, we will do as we are doing nowadays. I wish you a lot of rest. I would love to hear some of your tips. How are you giving yourself permission to rest right now? I would love to hear if you have any suggestions of any other videos or topics or plants that you would like to see in this chit chat with Plants in Our Cups. I love you. I am so honored to be your digital friend. And if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I also post a lot. I love you so, so much, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.